Hello YouTube, CivilianSnowman here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Blade Runner: The Final Cut. Now I must warn you that this review will contain spoilers, as I'm going to be comparing some of the parts of the theatrical cut to the final cut, so there may be some spoilers in there. But yeah, the actual review itself is going to be of the final cut. The plot follows Rick Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, who is an ex-Blade Runner, a name given to a police unit who hunt down replicants, which are artificial humans. So these replicants have been outlawed on Earth ever since they attacked humans, so replicants were made illegal. Blade Runners were brought in to kill them. So Harrison Ford is an ex-Blade Runner. Now, Rutger Hauer plays Roy Batty, who is the leader of a group of 6 replicants who take over a shuttle, kill I think 23 people in the process, and come back to Earth. So Harrison Ford is kind of brought back into commission to hunt down and kill Rutger Hauer and his band of replicants. Harrison Ford gives a good performance as Rick Deckard. I mean, Harrison Ford is a very consistent actor. All his performances are always good. But I love him in Blade Runner, how he's kind of there are a lot of subtleties to his performance, in that he's meant to be the best Blade Runner, and yet he's quite bad at it. And there are underlying reasons for that, and the film implies a lot, which I'll get to in a bit. But Harrison Ford manages to bring subtleties to his performance that add layers to the film itself, not just his own performance. So Harrison Ford manages to help layer the film, which is a really good thing, because the film is incredibly layered. I won't lie to you, the first time I ever watched Blade Runner, I wasn't too keen on it. I didn't understand it, and when I say understand it, I don't mean the plot. The plot's simple enough to understand, but the style and feel and tone of the film isn't incredibly accessible. You have to kind of watch it a few times to truly appreciate what Ridley Scott, the director, was trying to do. So now, after viewing it 20 odd times, and the final cut as well, I adore it. I think it's safe to say that Blade Runner is one of my favourite sci-fi films of all time. Rutger Hauer is absolutely brilliant as Roy Batty. He's one of my favourite movie villains of all time. He manages to bring so much to his performance, because he is essentially evil, but I don't think he's quite insane. He wants revenge. The reason that he and his band of replicants come back to Earth and risk everything is that they have a 4-year lifespan, kind of a failsafe that the designers put in them in case replicants should ever develop human emotions and anger, lust and all that. They are built with this 4-year lifespan so that they just die. So Rutger Hauer brings his band of replicants back to Earth to find the head of the Tyrell Corporation, a man called Tyrell, who designed the replicants, and get revenge. So he is essentially not a completely bad character. You can understand what he's going through. You know, how would you feel to live knowing that you were going to die within the near future? So you can understand his character's motives from that perspective, but he also brings so much more to his performance than just that. The way he speaks to people, even down to his line delivery, it's so kind of well, some of it is kind of softly spoken. You just don't feel like he's completely evil, although he is completely threatening. Now, there are scenes where, after he's just killed Tyrell and gouged his eyes out, he turns to a character called J.F. Sebastian, and who starts to kind of back away, and Rutger Hauer just says, "Come, come." You know, he's literally bordering on insane at that point, but he manages to make the character so sinister. He really does. I mean, this is a guy who you do not want after you. You know, Deckard at the end realises this in a really good showdown. But yeah, Rutger Hauer is absolutely brilliant as Roy Batty. The final showdown between Rutger Hauer and Harrison Ford is a mesmerising piece of cinema, in my opinion. Just seeing two such great actors who are absolutely brilliant opposite each other go head to head. And it's in this scene that while Deckard is hanging off the edge of a building, Rutger Hauer saves him. And I think that is his last ditch attempt to grab onto humanity. Like, literally, he sees saving Deckard as saving his own humanity, and after killing all the people that he's killed, which is a lot at this point, he raises quite a body count, this is just another aspect of his performance that makes him such an interesting and layered character. He saves Deckard and then he gives a speech which is some of my favourite quoting of all time, but I won't do it now in case you haven't seen it, because it's a quote you should really hear from the film. But I just think Rutger Hauer brings so much to his performance. It is so layered, and you get something new from it every time you watch it. Like, it's not made completely clear. Well, it is made completely clear, but I didn't pick up on the fact that he actually killed JF Sebastian the first time I watched the film. You hear the announcement of it on the police radio in the background of one of the next scenes, and I hadn't noticed that. But yeah, obviously on like second, third viewing, I picked it up and thought, oh shit, he did actually kill JF Sebastian, so that just makes him all the more threatening. But he essentially, his last confrontation with Deckard is to make him live in fear. Like, Deckard knows that Batty is going to kill him, and Batty is trying to give him that feeling of impending death, which is what he's felt because he's reached his incept date, which is the date at which he shuts down and dies. So it's a really interesting multi-layered fight scene, even though it's not much of a fight scene, it's more of a chase, I guess, but there's so many layers to it that it really does reward repeat viewings. Ridley Scott directs Blade Runner as kind of almost an art house film. His set design, which is something he was always known for back then when he was doing sci-fi with Alien as well. The set design on Blade Runner is absolutely mesmerising. I mean, the city streets of Los Angeles, the futuristic Los Angeles, absolutely brilliant. It's like a living, breathing city. You don't feel at any point like you're on a soundstage or a studio backlot, any of that. You feel like you're in this world, and it really does pull you in that respect. You forget that you're watching a film almost, or at least I do. Blade Runner is influential for a number of reasons, and it came out in 1982, which is essentially the year that sci-fi got dark, because up until Star Wars in 1977, sci-fi had been all pristine, white surfaces, all perfect and clean, and then Star Wars came along and gave it kind of a lived-in feel, but that was like the old-fashioned adventure film in space. Blade Runner takes that lived-in feel and runs with it. It says that if Los Angeles did expand and all the cities on the world expanded and to the point where they are in the film, they wouldn't be clean and stuff, you know. It's like a slum almost. And I really like that fresh approach to sci-fi, or at least it was fresh back then. But since then we've seen that used in films like Dark City, which is an absolutely brilliant sci-fi film directed by Alex Proyas. If you haven't seen Dark City, pick that up. And especially The Matrix, like the constant rain, the look and feel of the buildings is all perfect for this film. It's not only does the dialogue and the characters and the performances make it feel like a noir film from the 1940s, but the set design, like the moodiness of the buildings, the shadows, the lighting, it all makes it feel like one of those old-fashioned detective movies.